Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. Hope you folks are doing well out there and having a great start to your day and a great week out there so far. Here to bring you the latest on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Wednesday. Of course, once again, we have a shot at strong to severe storms for a pretty large chunk of the country, but the south central U.S. will certainly be the highlight area that runs the highest risk of significant severe weather. So we're going to zoom into all these areas, though. Get it figured out for you folks. Try to get the timing down, mention town names, city names, and just in general, just get you guys a good idea what potentially could unfold later on this afternoon into this evening. And some of these areas could see some nasty storms as early as around lunchtime today here in the next several hours. So we're going to break it all down for you folks. Yesterday was an awful day once again for the state of Iowa, where we had portions of towns completely leveled. Tornado outbreak occurred, and it just seems like Iowa just cannot catch a break whatsoever. So we're certainly praying for you folks, and our thoughts and prayers go out to you guys for sure. Definitely take some time out your day or morning just to say a prayer for them. They definitely need it. They certainly do. So today's going to be another active day. Tomorrow will be active. Pretty much through the weekend will be incredibly active. So at the very end of the video, we'll discuss for several minutes the pattern coming up that's going to support just a multi-day severe weather event on the way for sure. So it's not going to stop anytime soon. We have a lot of nasty weather days coming up, and we're just going to try to figure them out day by day. But of course, we're going to try to keep you guys ahead of it too. And we are going to speak on the next few days ahead into the weekend. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. It goes a long way. You know, yesterday's video was a really odd video. Spent a lot of time on it, and it just did not get out there much. But, you know, some videos are just like that. You gotta just keep plugging away. But definitely like the video. I get very detailed on these, and I think people could appreciate details, especially when, you know, some of these weather videos, not a knock on anybody, you know, you run through them in like 10 minutes, and you just don't really get a good idea of where the storms are going to hit. I try to get very detailed with you guys, so just want people to be more aware, want these videos to get out there to more people, and so people can get a better idea what could potentially unfold. So if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below so I can pray over it, and so others can do so too. As you can tell, our map is kind of glitching out this morning. I don't know what's going on with it. I got it in motion, and it keeps disappearing up here. Only this area, like up in Canada, keeps disappearing. I don't know why it's doing it wrong up here in Canada, but I got the surface fronts up, the low pressure and the high pressure. I got that up for a reason. I need to start pulling that up more. I just don't think about it before I start these videos. But it shows what's going on well. There's obviously rain up here in Canada. Still some rain falling in extreme northern Minnesota. Do you see that low right here? It says 985. This is the low that produced all the awful weather in Iowa areas of the Midwest yesterday. You see the blue area? That's a cold front. All right, and you see this red? That's a warm front. So, you know, every low pressure has a warm front associated with it like this, the surface low. So this pulls in. Everybody south of this red area, warm, moist air. Everybody north of it, you know, for the most part, pretty stable, cooler air. Maybe not necessarily cold, but cooler air. So this cold front is draped across the Midwest, across the Mississippi Valley, all the way down to the south central U.S. We're going to stop this because the glitching out up here is definitely distracting me. But everybody pretty much ahead of this front, which is slowing down, will have the opportunity for strong to severe storms. So pretty much if you're on this side of this front, you know, you're going to, like I said, run the risk of strong to severe storms or just storms in general. Once this clears out, more stable air on the west side of this frontal boundary. But you see this L down here in the panhandle of Texas? That's what we call, you know, a little weak surface low or short wave trough, just upper energy riding the boundary of this cold front. This area of energy right here, this L, is what's going to provide a lot of lift for thunderstorm activity, and everybody south of this cold front has a highly unstable atmosphere. A lot of storm energy already built in, high Cape values already built in this morning. So that's what's running the setup. Of course, we have another system moving into the Pacific Northwest we need to watch. So that's what's driving everything out there. I hope that makes sense. Everybody on this side, west side of this front, stable air, you're good for now. Okay? Watches, warnings, and advisories. South of that front, okay, you got very hot and humid air. Heat advisories up, you know, starting to get to that time of the year. You know, and the heat's going to continue to do nothing but flex ahead of this cold front. Flood watches are reissued again, once again, for North Texas, areas of southeast Oklahoma, and areas of Arkansas. A lot of rain could fall once again. Okay, eastern U.S. pretty quiet. We got a lot of winter weather alerts across the Rockies and Idaho, though. Winter storm watches, winter storm warnings. Some alerts up here in the Bighorn Mountains. So, winter continues to just roll on up here. Not anything totally unusual, but, starting to get kind of late. High wind watches up in southeastern Wyoming. Other than that, it looks relatively quiet this morning. Okay, excessive rainfall outlook in the yellow area. That means you run a risk, a 15%, at least a 15% risk of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles in a given location. Okay, so there is going to be a risk of flash flooding today, so be alert of that. All right, and then we look at the Storm Prediction Center outlook. So we're really just going to zoom in on the south central U.S., but I do want to show you up into the Ohio Valley and the Northeast also. So I'm not going to leave you guys out, I promise. But tornado outlook, 5% risk down here. But I do want you to check this out. There's a little 2% risk here that includes Cleveland to Erie to extreme the western tip of New York, and including northwestern sections of PA. All right, the wind threat in this entire yellow area that extends all the way up into the Finger Lakes region, western New York State. This entire yellow area has a 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. Damaging winds will be a threat. 30% risk down here. The hail outlook, just a 5% risk up here. So really the slight risk that's getting pulled all the way into the Northeast is really driven off wind as of now. This outlook could change. But let's zoom into this area of Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, Louisiana. Closer look shows town names, city names for you. Enhanced risk up for San Angelo through the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Waco, Shreveport. You're right inside, I would say, the slight risk. Texarkana, Mary, loyal viewer of my channel. You live in Northeast Texas, I know. So, it's going to be an active day for you today, for sure. All the way to Little Rock, Hot Springs, all of southwest Arkansas, southeast Oklahoma, northeast Texas. Enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5. What is this driven off of? Are we going to have another tornado outbreak today? I don't think so. I think we're going to get a couple tornadoes, no doubt. Pretty confident in that. But let's hope it doesn't turn into an outbreak like yesterday. Tornado outlook, brown area, 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. That includes some higher populated regions. Little Rock, especially the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Shreveport, does run that 2% risk, right on the fringe of 5. San Angelo, 5%. Abilene, 5% risk. So green area, 2% risk of a tornado. The wind outlook, if you live in the red area, that is a 30% chance to see winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour within 25 miles at any given point. Yellow area, 15% risk. So damaging winds is a threat today. This is one of the things driving the enhanced risk. But I do think the biggest threat today is very large, the potential for gigantic hail with these supercells. Anytime you have an environment, which I'll show you here in a panel here in a couple minutes, that has a ton of fuel in the atmosphere, higher CAPE levels, once the storms do get going, and there's no real cap in place, once the storms get going, they take advantage of everything in the atmosphere ingredients-wise and just can explode. Very strong, tall updrafts, has a chance to really create very, very large hail. And that's going to be the case today. So in fact, I wouldn't be surprised they bumped this up to a moderate risk for just hail-driven in areas of northern Texas. We'll see what happens, though. Let's hope not. Let's hope their confidence doesn't get that high. The red area, 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. Yellow area, a 15% risk of that. But if you notice the black outline region with the black dashes going in between it, that's a 10% chance to see significant hail, which is 2-inch in diameter or larger, which I think you'll will probably see today at some point. So that's the outlook. A closer look at my friends here in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana. Let's take a look at what the potential radar could look like later on. I mean, maybe as early as like a lunchtime today. So this morning, not a lot going on. But there's already a lot of fuel in the atmosphere that you cannot see on this map. I'll show you that here in a second. You take it to about, and remember, I'll try to mention this in every timestamp. It says 12 p.m., but that's in Eastern time. Well, we're in Central time, so back this up 1 hour. So this is around 11 a.m., right? So this is noon. Already around lunchtime, you got the development of showers and storms just west or around or right on top of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Storms forming in southern and southeastern Oklahoma. Watch how these storms basically really just explode in an hour or two. So nasty large hail producing storm right on top of Abilene. Very large hail, damaging winds, even a tornado threat. The more discreet these storms are, I would say the higher chance they have producing a tornado. Look at these storms around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, points north. These two counties right here, the Dallas-Fort Worth region, always remember that because they look exactly like just two squares in North Texas. Southeastern Oklahoma at this point, it looks like they're getting a couple supercells. When I say supercell, I mean a rotating thunderstorm. Typically produces very large hail, has a hail core, tornado risk, all hazards. And then these storms could do what we call grow up scale, which means they could develop all kind of congeal together into a maybe like a mesoscale convective system, MCS, basically a line of storms capable of producing really anything. Okay, all hazards. You got this lone cell back here west of Abilene and kind of west central Texas. You got to watch these for very large hail producers. Got that cold front draping across this region and just the energy and the upper energy surging along that boundary, producing all these storms. You keep going to about 6 p.m. Look at these storms getting now south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, hitting northeast Texas pretty hard. Looks like you get a break. And notice I just said break in southeast and then extreme northern Texas, southeast Oklahoma. But watch how more storms fire up later. These storms begin to drift south, getting close to San Angelo at this point, getting maybe close to Austin. These storms are hitting like Shreveport at this point. This is around 8, 9 p.m. And then watch how more storms develop again as you kind of have a stalled out cold front that just does not want to sweep through and stabilize the atmosphere. So once again, more storms fire up here. Extreme southern Oklahoma, northern Texas, capable of producing gigantic hail. This is around 11 p.m. Basically, storms slam, based off this run on the model, the same areas that get slammed earlier in the day, later tonight. And this could really evolve. And keep in mind, you still got some storms cruising down here in central and south central Texas. But this could really be a disruptive line of storms around midnight after for northeast Texas, southeast Oklahoma, getting eventually into sections of southwest Arkansas before I do think it loses some steam in the middle of the night, getting into the wee hours of the morning. So that's potentially the way the radar could look like between now and the next 18 to 24 hours. Updraft Felicity swath. Now, your screen's going to light up, okay? Look at the vibrant colors right there in the heart of Texas, right around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're just going to take it all the way through to the next 24 hours. You notice, of course, right here in the middle of Texas, you got the reds, the pinks, the whites, which if you've been watching for any length of time, you know when we show you this, that means that you got stronger updrafts, signs of rotating thunderstorms. But one thing I want you to pay attention with this also is the fact that stronger updrafts means the chance for large hail, and especially in Texas. So when I see these vibrant, colors right here, this really tells me that we're going to have a very large hail threat across areas of Texas. Up here too, I know you see this weird gap right here, but that might not be the case. This is just a radar simulation, the model guidance, okay? Very large hail producers. Could be a little bit further north in Oklahoma too, guys. See the updraft Felicity swath showing up in northeast Texas on all these areas right here, the Texarkana region, okay? And then you look at the HRRR model as far as wind gusts. The damaging wind gusts are likely with this. You see these little pockets. I mean, these are for the storms that formed later tonight, but look at all these storms right in here. Embedded pockets of winds approaching 50, 60, maybe 70 miles per hour. So damaging winds showing up in these little areas right in here you see. Remember, this goes in 1 hour increments, so you see little weird gaps between these areas and up here. It's just because these storms go 1 hour to 1 hour. It doesn't show anything between those hours, okay? But damaging winds, a big threat, southeast Oklahoma, and then eastern sections and central sections of Texas, okay? And this is really driven off just a ton of fuel building into this region. Not a lot of kinematic ingredients, meaning wind flow aloft, to support a huge tornado outbreak, okay? But the fuel in the atmosphere is substantial, okay? This is mixed layer CAPE. Guys, the CAPE levels are already over 3,000 joules per kilogram in areas of Oklahoma and Texas and into Arkansas. Okay, but look as you start to build. It's a good example, right? You get to about, let's take it to about midday. This is around 11 a.m. lunchtime. CAPE values getting close, mixed layer CAPE getting close to 5,000 joules per kilogram. You're thinking, Mitch, I don't even know what that means. Just know that that's a ton of fuel in the atmosphere. But watch as you keep on going. See these weird little splotches right here? That's a storm forming. soon as the storm forms, it eats up all the fuel in the atmosphere in that area. And that's why the Cape values just kind of drop to like hardly nothing, when right beside it, it's like 4,000 or 5,000. Okay, these storms explode, take advantage of all the fuel in the atmosphere, eat it all up, and then you can have some more fuel in the atmosphere that gets going here in northern Texas, later tonight. Okay, we just got to watch. So, yeah, a lot of energy in the atmosphere. Now we go up to Arkansas, right? Okay, these storms, you already got some storms this morning in central Arkansas, kind of rumbling through, kind of southeast of the Little Rock area. We'll probably get the development of more storms later this morning. It's about midday. These storms could produce hail, damaging winds, maybe a brief tornado threat. Heavy rain, too, because the risk of heavy rain in here is, areas could get 1 to 3 inches of rain, which we don't really need a whole lot more rain in this area. Getting into early afternoon, maybe an area of energy kind of surging into eastern Arkansas might begin to affect, Memphis might creep into sections of northwestern Mississippi. Could get some nasty weather kind of east of the Mississippi into Mississippi. Okay, then you see all these storms forming. Look at these storms in northern Arkansas, the Ozarks. These could be huge hail producers, tornadoes possible. And then we start to get to about 6 p.m. You even got some supercells showing up here, potential supercells in southern Missouri, clusters of storms across Arkansas. Storms are rumbling pretty much through the entire western and central sections of Arkansas. And then we get to about 8 p.m. These storms start to hit Louisiana pretty good. Northern Louisiana, Shreveport. I would say your time frame 7, 8 p.m. Storms could make their way through. Even got some storms up there in the Boot Hill, Missouri, affecting you guys. And then we continue to go. And then I do think by the time we get to about midnight, maybe it relaxes a little bit. But there comes that complex of storms, maybe like an MCS, mesoscale convective system, capable of producing very strong winds and large hail that eventually kind of oozes into southwestern Arkansas into the wee hours of the morning. But will this still be sustaining itself? Will it lose some steam after all this other energy earlier in the day kind of chills out the atmosphere in a way? Well, we'll have to watch to see. But there could be some thunderstorms overnight in Hot Springs, Little Rock, southwest sections of Arkansas for sure. So be aware of that. And then we could have more storms you're waking up to tomorrow morning. Okay, the updraft velocity swath in this region does indicate rotating updrafts, stronger updrafts. So this is going to take it all the way into tomorrow morning. Okay, this is showing up for those cells I just mentioned in northern Arkansas. I mean, look at this highlighted streak right in here. This is telling us we could get some supercells capable of producing all hazards in northern Arkansas, but really anywhere in Arkansas. Okay, see all these streaks here, especially southeast Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, even down here near the Louisiana-Arkansas border. This tells me that you're going to have some strong updrafts, very large hail producers, rotating thunderstorms, the potential for isolated tornadoes, even into Arkansas. Okay, so damaging wind threat is here in Arkansas also. We'll look at the wind gust swath in this region, kind of take it back to the 06Z, go all the way through tomorrow morning. And, I mean, there it is, clusters of strong winds associated with these storms, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts. It's likely if you get under a severe thunderstorm warning and you get impacted by it. So gusty winds in Arkansas, no doubt about it. Now let's take it up to Tennessee, Kentucky, southern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, southwest Ohio. Okay, this morning, not a whole lot going on. And I can tell you this is an area of the country that's going to get very active, especially as we get into this weekend. Sunday could be a big day for this area, for sure. Okay, we'll get to that here in a second. Take it to about midday, not a whole lot going on. And then we take it to about 3 or 4 p.m. Some storms firing here in southern Ohio, isolated storms in Kentucky, western Kentucky, maybe more widespread convection going on here in this region. And then we take it to about 6 p.m. We start to get more widespread storm activity. Southern Illinois, south of that cold front boundary we spoke on earlier in the video, some storms forming. But once you get into western Kentucky, extreme southern areas of Indiana, Evansville, certainly you get some storms around dinner time tonight. More widespread storms are expected this evening. And then we take it to about 9, 10 p.m. And there's the possibility that we could have more so a complex of storms, kind of like an MCS, just a line of storms making its way through Kentucky and this could be draping across western Tennessee, just might not be showing up on here. But this is around 9 p.m. Bowling Green, Mayfield, Paducah, Kentucky. I think Owensboro here in Kentucky. Some storms are impacting you guys. Could be getting some storms here in southern Ohio also. But, as we start to get closer to midnight, certainly some storms rumbling through Kentucky, capable of producing more so just some gusty winds, small hail. Cannot rely on an isolated tornado, but these storms kind of continue just in kind of rounds. But I do think the intensity of these storms up here compared to Texas and Arkansas will not be as extreme, but certainly rounds of thunderstorms and a stormy late afternoon and evening for pretty much everybody you see on this screen, especially Kentucky. I would say Kentucky's the highlighted state. And we take it all the way to tomorrow morning, and then we still got rounds of showers and storms. So we'll see what happens there. We'll kind of look at, let's see, the damaging wind thing here. Take this back here. And, yeah, there's pockets right here. And I think this is more so just for gusty conditions up here associated with the surface low to the north. These aren't really severe storm driven up here in like Indiana and Illinois and Ohio. But down here you see these more splotchy areas. That's where it's showing strong to severe complexes of storms kind of moving through Kentucky, western Tennessee, and southern sections of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Definitely shows some gusty winds. Tornado threat, just don't think it's going to be substantial in this area, but do not completely just say, hey, no tornado threat. We never want to say that. Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio, even northern West Virginia, and then, of course, the southern tier of New York. What are we expecting in this area today? Well, there's a separate tornado risk that we're watching. The Storm Prediction Center is, and I am too. And we take it to let's go to about 2 p.m., 3 p.m. Storms rumbling through Cleveland, heading towards northeast Ohio, eastern Ohio. Some storms could be developing on Erie, Buffalo around 3 p.m. Storms in northwestern PA. And this is when they'll have the opportunity. And these little storms right in here could be a more bigger line of storms sweeping through. This is when they will have the capability of producing a tornado, about the middle to late afternoon, this afternoon. And they will be rumbling through more isolated in nature storms down here in West Virginia, western Virginia, very possible. But we just got to watch this area of storms around 5 p.m. at this point, cruising through northwestern PA, western New York State. Still some storms back there in eastern Ohio around 5 to 6 p.m. And then these will cruise right across the Finger Lakes region, 7 to 8 p.m. Look at these storms down here in western Maryland, the panhandle of West Virginia, northern VA too. Do not be surprised you get a stronger severe storm down here also. Not as much lift as the surface low is way up here to the north, but you could definitely still have enough push in the atmosphere to get a stronger severe storms with ample amount of warming and thermodynamic energy down here to get some storms to grow if they can actually form, if that makes sense. So storms cruising through northern PA could very well have an attachment of these storms in central PA, and then these storms probably will become outflow driven, meaning they just kind of outrun their environment, kind of just cool themselves off in a way. Could have some more storms still trying to get going here in eastern Ohio, northwestern PA into the overnight hours. And then we get like after midnight, probably some rounds of showers and storms, but I think they'll lose some intensity overnight. So, you look at the updraft Felicity swath, certainly got to watch out for some tornadoes in northeastern Ohio, northwestern PA, and even into New York State. You see these highlighted areas. This tells me some rotation is possible with these storms. We could have a tornado or a few tornadoes up here in this region, even though there's just a 2% risk. Okay. So let's break down the rest of the country. The southeast today, mainly quiet. We've already broke down Arkansas and surrounding states. Could get an isolated shower or storm up there near the VA, NC border. Talked about Kentucky already. Isolated showers and storms in the southern tip of Florida is very likely. And then kind of more just pulse and summer-like type conditions down here, could produce a strong storm or two. And then we start to get into the overnight hours. We'll start to get some rain overspreading the northern half of Mississippi. This will kind of just lose some steam as it gets into Alabama, Georgia, but could wake up tomorrow morning to some isolated storms and showers across the Mid-South for sure. Carolinas, Georgia, North Florida, southern Alabama, pretty quiet today. Okay. We go into the Northeast. We've already talked about areas of the Northeast, but I will mention, there is some storms that are possible to likely up here in northern New York State too. Here's the broken line of storms moving in, southern Ontario, Quebec, you guys can get some storms also. And eventually, as we get into the overnight hours, this will weaken. Could still be some shower activity into Vermont, New Hampshire, maybe even a storm up here in northern Maine late tonight. It's very possible. Might hear a rumble of thunder if you live up there and you're tuning in. And then we get into tomorrow morning. Could be waking up to some shower activity in PA, West Virginia, storms maybe. New Jersey, New York City, Long Island. Could have you waking up to some showers tomorrow morning, no doubt about it. So go down to the south central U.S. Already talked about this pretty much. I will mention, very strong storm activity is very possible all the way down here to the hill region of Texas. I think that's what y'all call that down here. So an isolated supercell or two could produce all hazards. Very possible. Everybody north of this, like getting further north in Oklahoma, Kansas, northern Missouri, everybody up here is stable. Okay, you got the cold front that sweep through. No real energy in the atmosphere. Could get some isolated shower activity across central Missouri late tonight. But other than that, guys, today much more calm. Iowa, nice day. You'll have a chance to really kind of get everything back together and at least get the process started to get back to normal in some of these communities. But this low, we can say good riddance to this, which caused all the issues. This will move out, but still, this will be kind of a driver to this down here, believe it or not. Okay, there's still some energy getting pulled north, and there'll be enough oomph in the atmosphere because of this huge cyclone up here to really drive that severe weather threat. We've already talked about Ohio, some back end kind of pivoting around this low. Showers will pivot through northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan this afternoon, maybe even an isolated thunder shower capable of producing some small hail in northern Minnesota. It's very possible with just cold air aloft. And then we get into the overnight hours, just a little bit of shower activity throughout northern North Dakota. And then we take it to tomorrow morning and just shower activity up here, like I said, northern North Dakota and northern Minnesota. Western U.S., the southwest is quiet again, but we do have a system moving into the Pacific Northwest and the northern Rockies. This will be in the form, we'll take it all the way to early afternoon, in the form of lower elevation rain, higher elevation snow. Got to be way up there. Stay tuned to your local people as far as those snow levels. But there'll be a legit spin in the atmosphere over Idaho, areas of Montana, Oregon, Washington. A lot of rain and a lot of moisture across western sections of Montana, especially as we get deeper into the afternoon this evening. And eventually, as we get into the overnight hours, you see that snow over Idaho, western Montana, the Rockies. So eventually we'll try to drift all the way into northwestern Wyoming, where we do have winter weather alerts, and southern Montana does too. And yeah, there's a pretty decent surface low right here. We'll see what this will do for Thursday's severe weather threat, but this is also pretty far north, and your atmosphere is still recovering from a cold front that's kind of thermodynamic-wise really chilled out the atmosphere. But there's going to be a slight risk of severe weather all the way up to that surface low tomorrow, which we'll talk about a little bit at the end of the video, and then getting into tonight's video most likely. Very warm day in the eastern U.S. ahead of this cold front. Temperatures in the 80s all the way up into Canada, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. I mean, very hot in Boston, finally getting rid of that onshore flow. You'll get into some low 90s in areas of the Carolinas, the deep south. I mean, very warm conditions. It's going to start to feel like early summer now. Down here in Texas, hot. You got high humidity combined with the actual air temperatures that are pretty hot, and certainly temperatures that are going to be quite miserable down here. It's going to feel like the brunt of summer. But you notice how the temperatures substantially cool off into this 80s, 70s, even the 60s up here. That's because the cold front is swept through. You can actually see the boundary of the cold front right in here, where you got 80s and 90s and 100s, and then it just goes to the 70s. Nice spring-like air mass up here in the plains. So cold front not really getting low pressure, not really affecting the southwest. In fact, it's warming back up. But, in the northern tier of the western U.S., the Pacific Northwest, northern Rockies, I mean, you're quite chilly. I mean, it's chilly conditions for mid to late May standards for sure. So, all right, going forward, guys, it's not slowing down whatsoever. Tomorrow will be a day that might not be high end. Okay, I could see them issuing an enhanced risk. Seems like that's been the common thing, a slight risk the day before a day of severe weather, and then all of a sudden we wake up to an enhanced risk. But tomorrow will be a day where a widespread area run the risk of severe weather. Slight risk for the plains. I mean, again, severe weather building back into the picture in Iowa. It doesn't look like a high-end day, but we just got to watch. But there's a marginal risk, level 1 out of 5, that just goes all the way to the Mid-South, upstate South Carolina, a good chunk of North Carolina, all of Virginia, Delmarva, West Virginia, and pretty much up the I-95 corridor, guys, all the way up to the down east areas of Maine. Huge area with a cold front draped over this area that runs the risk of strong to severe storms with ample heating building south of that boundary. So a lot of real estate tomorrow runs the risk. Okay, it's just who's going to get the worst weather. Okay, and then we get into Friday. Friday's kind of the in-between day. We thought Thursday was going to be a big day, and it still could be. But Friday is kind of the in-between day between all the severe weather we've been dealing with and then more to come this weekend. So we got a marginal risk of severe weather for a pretty large area. I mean, up to Milwaukee all the way down to the Texarkana region. Could this upgrade? Absolutely. But a large area runs the risk of just general thunderstorms too. I think as we get into Saturday and to Sunday, this is when we run into issues. Okay, another upper trough digs down, areas of energy and pulsing off the trough, upper energy, surface lows, short waves, whatever you want to call it, energy. And then we're going to run it back again. Slight risk already for Saturday, day 4, level 2 out of 5. This entire yellow area, St. Louis, Kansas City, Little Rock, Springfield, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, down the Dallas-Fort Worth, Wichita, Topeka. Slight risk of severe weather. Okay, already brewing up. And then we get into Sunday, folks. They are a day 5, enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5. Think of this as, you know how we got an enhanced risk in Texas and areas of in Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. Okay, level 3 out of 5. Well, they already have that much confidence on severe weather happening 5 days out into Sunday. Okay, 30% chance already in the Mississippi Valley region right here, Boot Hill, Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, western Tennessee and Kentucky, and then northeastern Arkansas. They already got a 30% chance of severe weather occurring within 25 miles of the given location. If you read the discussion, it says a concerning setup is likely to unfold. 15% risk around this. Sunday has the potential to be a dangerous day. It does. So, what's driving all this? Once again, we will nerd out with you guys. Let's talk about what's going on right now. Okay, so huge area in blue, that's lower pressure. Area in orange, higher pressure. Lower pressure, unsettled conditions. Higher pressure, more stable, typically warmer than average temperatures. So normally, right in the white area between the orange and the blue is where all your action is. Not always, definitely not always, but that's, I think a better way to put it is that's typically where your cold front is, separating the lower pressure and the higher pressure, more unstable air with more stable air moving in. And I know that kind of offsets what I said, but there's unstable air building below a boundary. Up here, lower pressure, but stable air. The deeper you get into this blue is what I'm trying to say is likely the higher chance that, you got cooler than average temperatures. Right along the boundary of that, that's where all your severe weather and weather typically happens. But immediately associated with that upper low, you got a lot of weather too. It's very complex if you overthink it. But you get into this afternoon, you see these lines right in here. Okay, you see how the lines right in here kind of buckle. That tells us there's energy in the atmosphere. And the buckling of these lines tells us that you're going to have energy firing up. Even weird little bends right in here tells us there's energy in the atmosphere. When these lines are straight like this, more stable conditions, probably cooler temperatures, really maybe some showery conditions, but a true eruption of thunderstorms not likely way up here associated with the immediate low pressure. So you got energy right here, an impulse of energy, little low, and just the cold front boundary probably right into here somewhere. Okay, so impulse of energy here, you got areas of energy right into here, main impulse of energy right into here at the base of this huge upper trough right here. Okay, so you keep this going and you get into Thursday. This main area, it's huge, upper low up here just kind of doing its thing in Canada. And then we get into Thursday afternoon. We got another big piece of energy kind of diving down across the central and northern Rockies. But in general, there's not, for Thursday, not a whole lot going on still in the eastern and southeastern U.S. But for Thursday, you still got things going on. In fact, you got this thing digging down right here. Okay, at this point, it's probably neutrally tilted. Okay, so it's already going from a positive tilt to more of that neutral tilt, right? And it's digging down like this. You're probably going to have the development of a surface low, probably a little bit further west than what I just drew this. This is bringing in, once again, recovering the air mass that's quite stable today, all the way up to that surface low. Okay, so once again, unstable air, ingredients for severe weather builds in tomorrow ahead of this next impulse of energy for severe weather across the plains. Now, at the same time, you got some sort of cold front, a boundary kind of, I don't know, draped across somewhere into here. Okay, maybe a little bit further south than that. And then you got energy building into this region right into here, all the way up the I-95 corridor. So another area, upper trough digging down, still a cold front right into here with basically energy associated with this cold front just south of the boundary, firing up storms. Remember what I told you, in the orange, more stable, more, I would say, sinking air. I wouldn't say stable air, more sinking air. This suppresses storm development. Could have unstable air, but more sinking air instead of rising air associated with lower pressure. So this cold front acts as a lifting mechanism. Rising air gets those storms going right here in this region. So that's why, a pretty large area is going to run the risk of severe weather. And I would say this cold front's more so kind of like this, bending a little bit right into here. And, trying to figure out exactly where to draw it's going to be hard. But in general, this will be the main piece diving back in, providing that slight risk all the way through the plains tomorrow. And let's make sure I don't have my days mixed up here. Yeah, slight risk, it makes sense. There's the cold front kind of moving across this region, right? And then we get into Friday. Friday's kind of a day where your surface low, because of this trough going negatively tilted right here. You see how it's tilting this way? That's a negatively tilted trough. So you probably got a surface low way, I don't know, somewhere up into here. So in general, you still got some cold front setting up here. So you're probably getting the ingredients for severe weather right into here. Okay, still enough push in the atmosphere. This ejecting upper trough still bringing in a lot of ingredients for severe weather right in here. So Friday, that's where your severe weather most likely is going to be. I just don't think it'll be a huge day because you don't have a lot of better overlapping ingredients. Now, certainly you get into Saturday, it's a different deal. Here's our next upper trough digging deep now. You see this thing right into here? This is digging down deep. So Saturday morning, you already got another huge upper trough digging down, right? And then already Saturday afternoon, this is beginning to take that negative tilt we don't like to see. It's starting to tilt somewhat like this now. This tells us that this is fully going to eject across the middle of the country. And then in response, you're going to have surface features like some sort of surface low, okay? I know that's an ugly L. Some sort of surface low that kind of flies through here with the associated ejecting trough. And sure enough, you kind of get this back off and you look at Saturday's threat, and there it is. It makes sense when you compare it to this because there's the trough digging down, wide area. There's all your energy's going to be in here. You see the buckling of the lines. Environment, this trough, yanking in a lot of ingredients for severe weather. Right into here, a lot of low-level moisture, associated mid-level jet riding over this region. And that blue area is where, that tells us where our storm system is. And then we get into Sunday morning, and this is what we don't like to see. This thing fully amplifies. I mean, just a flat-out negative tilt to it. Ominous look. Surface low, riding. I don't know, probably through here somewhere. It's going to be kind of rumbling through here. This will bring a low-level jet right through this region, pull in right moist air right through this region, bring in all the ingredients right into this region. So you're probably going to have a severe weather outbreak Sunday afternoon in this region. So, and this continues, guys. I mean, we get into Monday, and even though they don't talk about it Monday, this area in blue will continue to be a factor. I think this will bring severe weather to the mid-Atlantic and areas of the southeast Monday, Memorial Day, I believe. Yeah, I think it's this Monday. So, yeah, this is going to bring more severe weather next Monday. I do think it will. So we'll kind of go through this a little bit quick, but the ingredients, guys, is all there. Today, a lot of mid-level flow in the purple. That's winds 18,000 feet up in the air, kind of whipping at about 55 to 60 knots, okay? That's close to interstate speed, 18,000 feet above our head. So a lot of flow in the atmosphere, riding right over that very moist air into this region, okay? So we start to make our way into Thursday. You can see that upper trough digging down, the upper energy pivoting down. And there it is. There's kind of a displacement from that main flow right here, that kind of very small, like 80 to 85 knot mid-level jet. Moist air is more so right in here. So there's a little bit of a displacement. If this was digging down and this flow was right over this region, then you would probably have a more substantial severe weather threat tomorrow. And we could evolve into one. But still a lot of flow down here across the South, Texas. So that's why you're going to run the risk of more severe weather in Texas and Oklahoma tomorrow. But there's flow all across the middle of the country. A little 30, 40 knot mid-level flow. Think of that as enough oomph in the atmosphere to get these storms going, enough forcing in the atmosphere. Still forcing all along and just south of this boundary too. Just enough lift in the air to get some storms going. And then we get into Friday. You know, you get into Friday afternoon. Shows a lot of flow, right? But there's a cold front somewhere in here kind of chopping off the atmosphere, kind of cutting off the moisture, I think. But still a lot of area that could get strong to severe storms. There's just a massive marginal risk. But it's as we are getting into Saturday, this is the worrisome thing, right? Saturday afternoon, you got a digging trough right here. Exit jet of this region right in here, meaning this is right at the beginning of that mid-level flow. You got 50 to 60 knots mid-level jet riding right over the south central U.S. And this will be the introduction of plenty of lift in the atmosphere for thunderstorm development. And then, well, we start to make it into Sunday afternoon, and then this is when it gets really dangerous. This is, evolving over a very unstable atmosphere, a very moist atmosphere, a lot of flow right here into this region. And this is certainly a concerning look. This is the last thing we'll look at. A lot of moist air here in this region. Let's just kind of skip right over Thursday. Look at Friday afternoon, a lot of moist air in here, right? We get into Saturday afternoon. Okay, these are dew points. Dew points well into the 70s, ripe air mass, flow riding right over that moist air mass. And then we get into Sunday afternoon right into here. And then this could be the big day. A lot of flow right over our very ripe, moist air mass. That's all I got, guys. We'll dive deeper into this tonight. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day.